On the 5th of July, 2025, a 76-year-old man was helped onto a stage in Birmingham, England, and lowered into a black throne. He could not stand, he could not walk. Parkinson's disease had spent 6 years taking his body apart piece by piece, and everyone in that stadium knew it. 40,000 people were in front of him. 5.8 million more were watching around the world. And when he lifted his head and looked out at them, he said this: "I don't know what to say, man. I've been laid up for like 6 years. You have no idea how I feel. Thank you from the bottom of my heart." 17 days later, Ozzy Osbourne was dead. But here's what almost nobody understands about that night. It wasn't just a farewell concert, and by the time it was over, a dying man from a Birmingham slum had raised more money for charity than any concert in history. Exactly 1 year later, his city would shut down its streets for him. This is the story of how the Prince of Darkness went home to die, and what he did on the way out. Stay with me. To understand that throne, you have to understand Aston. John Michael Osborne was born on the 3rd of December 1948 in Marston Green and raised in Aston, a hard, working-class corner of North Birmingham. He was the fourth of 6 children crammed into a tiny house. His father, Jack, was a toolmaker. His mother, Lillian, worked at the Lucas car components factory. There was no money and no space and no expectation that a boy from those streets would ever amount to anything. School was worse. He had dyslexia, undiagnosed in 1950s Birmingham, and simply could not do the work. He picked up the nickname Ozzy in primary school and left at 15 with no qualifications at all. What followed was every job nobody wanted: construction laborer, trainee plumber, apprentice toolmaker. He tuned car horns on a factory line, and for a while he worked in a slaughterhouse, killing animals day after day for a wage. And then, at 17, he broke into a clothes shop. He was caught, convicted, and fined. He couldn't pay it, and his father, who could have paid it, refused because he wanted his son to learn a lesson. So Ozzy spent 6 weeks inside Winson Green Prison. That's who he was at 17, a dyslexic teenage burglar with a slaughterhouse on his resume and no future whatsoever. But something had already got into him. At 14, he had heard the Beatles for the first time, and in that moment, he understood with total clarity that music was the only door out of Aston that was ever going to open for him. In 1968, Ozzy, a bassist named Geezer Butler, a guitarist named Tony Iommi, and a drummer named Bill Ward, 4 young men from the same few streets, all desperate to escape the same city, formed a band they called Earth. Then they noticed something. Across the road from their rehearsal room was a cinema showing a Boris Karloff horror picture called Black Sabbath. People were queuing up and paying money to be frightened, and the 4 of them had an idea. What if music could do that? They took the name, they tuned down, slowed everything to a crawl, and wrote songs about dread. Their debut album came out on Friday, the 13th of February, 1970, the date chosen on purpose. Critics loathed it. The public bought it in enormous numbers. 4 factory kids had invented heavy metal. What followed was 10 years of the kind of fame that destroys people, and it very nearly destroyed him. Black Sabbath became one of the biggest bands on earth. But Ozzy's drinking and drug use ran out of control. And in 1979, his own bandmates, his friends from Aston, fired him. He was 30, finished, and by his own admission, barely functioning. The person who pulled him out was a woman named Sharon. Sharon became his manager, then his wife in 1982, and by almost every account, including his own, she saved his life. She built him a solo career from nothing. 13 solo albums followed, the first 7 going multi-platinum in America. He was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame twice, once with Black Sabbath and once on his own. Across everything, he sold more than 100 million records. And then he did the strangest thing of all. He let cameras into his house. The Osbournes turned him into something no one could have predicted. Not a satanic rock villain, but a bewildered, sweet, foul-mouthed dad shuffling around a Beverly Hills kitchen, bossed about by his wife and children. Millions of people who had never heard a note of heavy metal fell completely in love with him. But the body was already failing. In 2003, he crashed a quad bike at home and did serious damage to his neck and spine, the first of many surgeries. Then, on New Year's Eve of 2018, he played a show in Los Angeles. It would be his last full concert for 6.5 years. Because weeks later, he fell at home. He needed surgery on his neck. And as he put it afterwards, that surgery screwed all my nerves. And while he was recovering, in February of 2019, doctors told him he had Parkinson's disease. He kept it secret for almost a year. In January of 2020, he sat down on live television with Sharon and 2 of his children and finally told the world. "It's been terribly challenging for us all," he said. Sharon explained the specific form he had and then said something that would prove painfully true. "It's not a death sentence by any stretch of the imagination, but it does affect certain nerves in your body. It's like you have a good day, and then a really bad day." Ozzy said he felt guilty for keeping it from his fans. What followed were 6 brutal years. More spinal surgery, pneumonia, a staph infection that nearly killed him. He told one magazine in 2022, "I can't walk properly these days. I have physical therapy every morning." In 2023, he retired from touring. By 2025, he could not walk at all. And in the middle of that, he said something to Rolling Stone that reads very differently now. "I don't know why I'm still here," he said, "and I do sometimes think I'm on borrowed time. I said to Sharon the other day, what a great life we've had, and what a great experience." He had one thing left he wanted to do. He wanted to go home. The show was called Back to the Beginning, and everything about it was deliberate. It was held at Villa Park, a football stadium in Aston, a few hundred yards from the streets where they grew up. It reunited the original Black Sabbath lineup for the first time in 20 years. Metallica came, Guns N' Roses came, Tool, Pantera, Slayer, the entire lineage of the music these 4 Birmingham men invented, lining up to say thank you. And Ozzy explained why in one sentence. "It's my time to go back to the beginning. Time for me to give back to the place where I was born." He played 5 of his own songs, then 4 more with Black Sabbath. All of it seated on that black throne, because standing was no longer possible. But here's the part that matters most, and the part most people still don't know. Every penny of the profit was given away, split equally between Cure Parkinson's, Birmingham Children's Hospital, and Acorns Children's Hospice. That concert raised more than $190 million. It is the highest-grossing charity concert ever held. Nothing since George Harrison's concert for Bangladesh in 1971 has come close. The night ended with 40,000 people chanting his name, "Ozzy, Ozzy, Ozzy," while he blew kisses and waved goodbye. 17 days later, on the 22nd of July, 2025, Ozzy Osbourne suffered a heart attack at his family home in Buckinghamshire. He was airlifted to hospital, and he was pronounced dead there. He was 76 years old. His family's statement said only this: "It is with more sadness than mere words can convey that we have to report that our beloved Ozzy Osbourne has passed away this morning. He was with his family and surrounded by love." His producer, Andrew Watt, had spoken to him every single day for 6.5 years, including the day before. "Everything was normal," Watt said, and the next day was a giant shock. There is one more detail that says everything. The death certificate was filled out by his daughter, Amy. In the box marked occupation, she wrote, "Songwriter, performer, and rock legend." 8 days later, his funeral cortege drove through Birmingham. Thousands of people lined the streets. The procession passed his childhood home. Flowers piled up on the Black Sabbath bench and bridge until you couldn't see the metal. And then, 1 year on the 22nd of July, 2026, the city of Birmingham held the first ever Ozzy Day. They filled the city center with live music and public art. The brass band that played at his funeral gave pop-up performances across town. The symphony orchestra played at the Bull Ring. They put his round glasses on the mechanical bull statue at New Street Station. His son Jack asked people all over the world to spend the day telling Ozzy stories. And Sharon, who buried her husband of 43 years, said this: "I can't forget what Birmingham did for Ozzy. He loved this city. He loved its people. He was proud of being a Brummie, and that's it." She said the fundraising will not stop. We will continue until we find a cure for Parkinson's. And she explained why it mattered so much to him in the simplest words anyone has used about Ozzy Osbourne. He was just a real bloke, a really good bloke with a big heart, and he wanted to give back. So that's what happened. A dyslexic kid from Aston who left school at 15, worked a slaughterhouse floor, and did 6 weeks in prison because his own father wouldn't pay the fine. Invented an entire genre of music, survived everything he did to himself, was saved by a woman who refused to give up on him, and became, improbably, the most beloved dad on television. And when his body finally gave out, he asked to be carried home, sat down on a throne in front of the city that made him, gave away every penny, and said thank you. 17 days, that's all he had left. He spent them going out exactly the way he wanted to. If this story moved you, stay with us. There are more like it here. The legends you grew up with, and the goodbyes you were never told.